Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to finish working on the last episode. We did the seat hump and the tray. So now this is a multi-part process to do this. So what I've done, I'm kind of doing the 3D printing part, making up some templates and things like that. Just some cheap PLA. So basically what I've done is created an insert, and I'm printed some of these little things, and this is a mock-up of the taillight assembly that's going to get machined CNC to put back here. So what I've done is made a mock-up of a surface that's a little bit bigger than this as far as its height, so it'll have clearance for when the seat hump goes over the top, that it won't touch the CNC part. And I printed these little nuggets that press down into the post, so when this is CNC'd, it's going to get those machined on there like so, and then what will happen is it'll get slid into the tubes, and then it'll be drilled and bolted through here so you can remove it. So that's how that works. So this insert is for the seat tray or the seat hump once it gets set on here. So most likely, as I noted in the previous, that I may make some changes. Well, I've already thought of some changes. So most likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and separate the hump from the seat tray. It'll get fiberglass back together, but right now it's going to get cut off so I can lower this back section down, and I may have to add some glass on the back side of this to give it some thickness for sanding down. This is rudimentary. It's just sticking out. It's excess. So what'll happen is I'm going to lay glass just over this part right here, and then once it's cured, I'm going to attach this top to this part. So what that'll do then is give me my form around the taillight, and then I'll be able to sand and contour everything to it, to the rounded shape or whatever rounded shape that I'm going to do. So anyways, all right, we have the piece of glass laid on here. This is 2 layers. So basically what it's going to do is form the area for the lights to go in. And I drew a line where I'm going to part this off. I decided to go ahead and part it off. And then, so what it'll do is it'll get formed down onto this part right here, and then fiberglassed in, so then it'll create what I need right there. All right, here we are. I made a fiberglass glue basically out of Kepisil and milled fibers, and real thick like paste. I used a permanent marker to trace the outline of the hump onto the new piece of glass, so it gives me a reference. Etched, sanded the inside and the side of this to glue the 2 halves together. So once this cures, then I can take it back off and clean it up on the inside, add any glass, brace it back up, and then it'll allow me, I'll probably have to etch some more on the inside, add some more of the glue in there, and then I'll be able to round this out, because this is going to overhang over the top of the lights and give it its rounded shape. All right, we got a little bit more done. Actually, we've got quite a bit done. I went ahead and got it trimmed up. I've done some pre-sanding on it to get rid of some of the high spots. And I went ahead and mixed up some more fiberglass putty, and went ahead and applied that on with the blade, so I could go ahead and get this nice and smoothed out. As you can see, I ended up having to add some glass underneath, as I noted earlier, because as I sanded, it got a little thin back in here. You can see where the glue of the bottom piece that we had added on there a minute ago, but I've gotten it rough rounded out. It's pretty clean, so I'll buff sand this off, and then after that it'll be ready for some body filler. I've cleaned up the edge because it was rounded from when you lay the glass over. It just basically creates a radius over the square edge. So I went ahead and squared it up with with the actual putty. And so we'll get this cleaned up, be able to go ahead and do body filler. I'm thinking at this point I may end up go ahead and cut this off, because the tray, this seat or the padding upholstery section is going to be sitting here in the middle, basically not coming down on the edge. So I may go ahead and just trim this off, make sure that it fits up real good in there. And then I have to put the hooks that'll hook the front, and then I'll put my quick hood release pin probably as far back as I can. And then the release will be mounted in the aluminum tray on the underside. I have I had 3D printed a prototype of the light fixture. There'll be some LEDs that go in these sockets. The 2 outboard ones will be the turn signals, and then the remainders will be in here, and it'll get wired up for for brake and for running lights. As you can see, the underhang is basically to clean it up and leave a small gap. Once the padding and everything's added on there, there'll be just a light gap underneath there. This will be machined out of aluminum, and then most likely powder coated or something of that nature, but not too bad. So you get a side view of how it looks. All right, just a little intermission while we're working on the seat pan. I wanted to go ahead and machine the tail light assembly. So just cut a hunk of billet off of this 1 inch by 2 inch aluminum. I got it in the machine, and it's machining away as we speak. I'm not going to sit here and video record all this because you can't see very well in there, but anyways, that's all right. Here it is, all made. I chose to go with 1 inch thick stock versus 1 1/8 inch, and machining the sides simply because there was a significant cost increase just by going to that extra 1/8 of an inch. So this thing's getting powder coated anyways, so that surface finish is going to be meaningless anyways. So now what I have to do is drill holes through here, because these will go inside, and then drill a hole into here to be able to bolt a screw to keep it in the frame. My LEDs will poke through here. Let me see, I got one right here. These are just like trailer LEDs, and then they'll all get wired up with a diode and a resistor, and then they're held in place with a set screw up here, so they plug in just like that on there. So voila. Now we're going to finish up on the seat hump, because I got the mount in, and what I need to do is notch out in here a little bit, and then put another raised area and lay some glass back over the top, and that'll create the actual seat pan, or the actual part that will get the actual upholstery done onto it. Okay, now we have the actual seat pan laid up onto the hump, and what I did is I cut a notch out on both sides, bringing it inward, and then relayed up a build-up layer to allow clearance for the actual put the seat covering on. I also drilled holes in here because I put in aluminum threaded rivets. So when I take this off on the actual seat tray itself, I'll install these and crimp them in place. The hole is drilled completely through, so what that does is it sets pin this once it's crimped into here, it'll leave a little bit left over. It'll be uncrimped, and you use that as an alignment dowel to align it to the actual seat hump lower section. And then on here I'll trim off, because then the foam will go in here, build up, and then I'll be able to apply the actual upholstery on there. All right, just doing a little check with my seat tray. Looks nice and square, so we're ready to move on. All right, here it is with the seat tray sitting in place. As I noted previous, the alignment dowel holes for there, and you can see where I notched out in here, so this allows to go around don't know if you can see it in the picture or not, but this here is sticking farther out this way than this. There's a pretty good ridge right there, so that allows for the fabric of the upholstery to be folded and adhered to the underside here, and allow it to have clearance against this. And then these notches allow for it to be like so. So you'll have a streamlined look with the fabric tucked underneath. So pretty much, oh, and I've also, see if we can do this one-handed. Underneath, you can see there is the push button for the quick release. So the quick release pin has been put in position. So it allows that to come off like so. There it is right there. The pin on the bottom side. This will get cleaned up later on, but that's give you an idea. So the only thing I have left with this is to create some kind of fork system to go in here, but I'm going to hold off on that for a later episode. But anyways, that is, this part of the seat hump is pretty much done, and we can move on to other functions. As far as, we'll see where I'm going to go after this next.